Georgia's solid transportation infrastructure is one of our greatest economic development assets. The Port of Savannah is the fourth largest and fastest growing U.S. container port. The Port of Brunswick is the nation's busiest seaport for automobile imports. And the connectivity with more than 1,600 railroad track miles is why Georgia is a leader in the global marketplace.
Purely modernizing our ports over the last 10 years, we've spent about $800 million. And maybe more importantly, over the next 10 years, we'll spend $1.4 billion growing our capacity, modernizing our ports, equipment, technology, densifying our operations, improving the velocity, all about preparing our ports for future long-term growth.
Our state freight and logistics plan identified over a 40-year period, $18 to $20 billion of needs. $18 to $20 billion over 40 years has a return on investment of $65 billion in economic output, plus thousands and thousands and thousands of jobs.
And that's the key. Inventory is lead time. When you look at a global supply chain, when you look at a network, the more inventory you have, the more lead time it is. The longer your cash is tied up in raw materials that have been converted to finished goods that you're not getting paid for. That lead time is expensive.
In December of 2012, when the first time China ever came to the United States to buy peanuts, they usually are an exporter to the world of peanuts. That year they became an importer of peanuts. And they came in for very large quantities in a very short period of time. We have, of course, a perishable commodity, and so that requires a certain few things when you're exporting. And of course, you want the fastest transit time as possible. It was definitely that can-do Georgia attitude and the willingness of CIS that made this happen. And so we started out utilizing Cordell Intermodal Services for about 10% of our shipments in January of 2013. And in the last 5 months, that has now grown to over 90%.
Effective today, we are offering on-demand GPS service to help primarily perishable sector. The GPS on-demand device will offer temperature control, lighting, tilt, shake, you name it. We are able to track it at real time at the deltacargo.com website.
We have some redistribution centers that will take the smaller, slower moving items and funnel them out to the 11 distribution centers that we use across the country. And right now, we're using about 80 different produce distributors across the country. So our average is 4.5 deliveries per week on produce.
We have to continue to evolve our ability to have the right product in the right quantities at the right time. But we also have to evolve and be able to connect our labor with our customer needs. I can't impress upon you enough that, from my belief, customer service starts with in-stock. In order to achieve that, you have to have an incredibly effective supply chain.
In logistics, there's about a dozen career paths that were identified that need education and workforce development to fill these open positions. Maritime Logistics and Education Task Force, MLET, as it's affectionately known, down in Savannah. This brings high school students to see really what's going on in distribution centers.
Last year, Georgia experienced a record increase in both exports and imports for the 5th consecutive year. Georgia companies exported nearly $40 billion in goods and services to some 227 countries and territories last year. But we're not content to just stay where we were. We want to continue to grow.